to Robin Mama, the Dean of Monmouth University School of Social Work in New Jersey, and she is going to be one of the moderators for today's session. So Robin, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Amy. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to our Social Service Work For webinar series, which is brought to you by, as we are told this morning, the Global Social Service Work For Alliance, through funding by PEPFAR, USAID, and supported by CapacityPlus. As you can see, this is the 17th webinar in a series of webinars that the Global Alliance has sponsored. All of our webinars have dealt with various issues and challenges facing the global social service workforce, from training curricula to supervision issues, to thinking about who we classify as the social service workforce, including licensing issues, to the role of government in overseeing and coordinating social services. This webinar will look at a workforce issue from another perspective, that of formal social service education, and one of the many challenges of this, the recruitment and retention of quality faculty members who teach in the academic environment. We don't have exact data from many countries about the state of the social service workforce, but we do know that there's a shortage of workers at different levels in many countries. And we know that in many instances there's an urgent need for retraining or upgrading the skills of workers in place to address new and changing social prevention and protection issues. So to increase the numbers of the social service workforce and to address the skill and upgrade issues, it becomes very important for there to be a sufficient number of university educators in place to make a critical contribution. So it's clear in many places that universities are often not able to recruit and retain sufficient workforce or social service social work educators to meet these challenges. So that's why we believe this issue of recruitment and retention is a critical one for the future of the social service workforce. We have a number of wonderful speakers today who are going to be highlighting their best practices and their challenges on both recruitment and retention of teaching members in their schools and in their programs. So we'd like you to take some notes as they speak, because later on we'll have some time for you to ask questions of our panelists through the chat box. Now I'm going to turn to my partner today, Dr. Jim McCaffery, who has some additional remarks before we go on. Jim?
Yes, thank you, Robin. I was just going to add one thing, and that is our colleagues in the health sector have also been dealing with similar issues around medical school and nursing school faculty as being a critical component of scaling up the workforce in the health sector, and they have kind of made a number of reforms and developed a number of tools to try and deal with some of the issues, and so as that is an allied sector, and down the road it may be that we can learn some things from what they've done also, as well as from our distinguished panelists today. So that's all I wanted to add, and I'll hand it back to you, Robin. Okay, so let me then go on. This is the agenda for today, and we will look at and begin with looking at recruitment challenges and strategies, and get a chance to hear what some of the challenges are that our colleagues are facing and what some of the strategies they're using to address those challenges. So we'll focus first on recruitment. And then we will then go from recruitment to the retention challenges and strategies and have a summary discussion of key points raised, including any questions that people have, or as many as we can get to during the time. And then we'll look at kind of most important takeaways as we look to the future. So that's roughly the agenda that we're looking at. And now let me move and highlight the 5 roundtable panelists who will be with us. And here are their names. Charles Kalinganire is from the Department of Social Sciences, School of Social, Political, and Administrative Sciences in the University of Rwanda. Abu Mvungi, who has just joined us, is the Rector, Institute of Social Work in Tanzania. Dr. Kanya Santi is the head of Bandung College of Social Welfare in West Java, Indonesia. Dr. Vishanthie Sewpaul is at the University of KwaZulu, professor of School of Applied Human Sciences in South Africa, and is also the president of the Association of Schools of Social Work in Africa. And Dr. Karen Sowers, is the Dean and Professor, College of Social Work in the University of Tanzania. University of Tennessee, sorry about that, Karen. So that's, these are the discussants. And then we have one slide with a little bit of information about all of them. And I'm not going to read through all of this, but I was going to give you just a minute to take a look at the, each of the names, as well as the institution and the degrees that they offer, the total number of students, and the number of teaching staff, and a rough student-teacher ratio. So I'll give you a minute to look at this slide before we go on. Okay, what we'll do now is give each person on this list a chance to say a few introductory remarks, and then we will move on from there. So let's start with Charles. We know his mic is working. So Charles, why don't you go ahead and highlight anything you for a minute.
Thank you, Jim. Hi, everybody. As it is shown on the slide, I'm Charles, and I'm from Rwanda, University of Rwanda. I'm teaching in the Department of Social Sciences, especially in social work option, and our social work program is quite new because it was set up in 1999. So you see, 15 years ago, and the program offers only a bachelor degree in social work with honors. So we're growing, but the problems of recruitment and retention are just somehow serious, and I will talk of them in the second instance as the plan is set. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. Why don't we move to Kanya, if you could say a few words.
Hi, Jim. Thank you, Jim. I'm Kanya from Bandung College of Social Welfare in West Java, Indonesia. Bandung College of Social Welfare is one school established in 1964, and this school is public school under the Ministry of Social Affairs, but also supervised by the Ministry of Education and Culture, and also accredited by National Accreditation Body of Indonesia. And we offer social work bachelor program and specialization in social work, and we have a quite big number of students, especially for bachelor program, around, as you may see, 1,801. And also we have around 68 full-time lecturers and 23 part-time lecturer or guest lecturers, with also around 82 staffs. So we all is around 150 staffs in this school. That's all, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kanya. Vishanthie? Hello, Vishanthie. You might want to unmute your microphone as you do this. It takes a little getting used to.
Sorry, hello. Can you hear me? Hello, I'm Vishanthie Sewpaul from the University of KwaZulu Natal, which is based in Durban in South Africa. We offer a Bachelor of Social Work, a Master's in Social Work in 2 streams with regard to coursework, clinical practice, and we offer policy and development, as well as Master's by research and a PhD. In terms of numbers, we have 625 in the BSW, 13 in the MSW, and 9 PhDs with 12 staff members, bringing us to a ratio for the BSW of 1:50.
Santi.
Hello, is that okay?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, that was very good. I see what we're trying to get Abu on the line too. So there was some noise in the background, but thank you very much, Vishanthie. Abu, are you on now? Is your microphone working?
Yeah, do you hear me?
I do indeed hear you.
Hello?
I do indeed hear you.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're fine.
Yes.
Good. Excellent. Why don't you go ahead and take
there.
this opportunity to introduce yourself and your institution.
Oh, sure. I'm Abu Mvungi. I'm currently the Rector of the Institute of Social Work in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. My institute is called OLD. Started way back in 1973, offering certificates and diplomas up to 2005. Then we started offering Bachelor of Social Work and postgraduate diploma in social work. And starting this year, we'll be offering a Masters of Social Work. In total, we have 1,225 students and a staff of 20, giving us a ratio of 1:61. That's all. Thanks.
Terrific. Thank you, Abu, and glad your microphone is working.
Thank you.
Karen, how about you?
Yes, hello all. I'm Karen Sowers, and I'm Dean of the College of Social Work at the University of Tennessee. In addition to all of the degrees that you see on the screen, we have 2 campuses, one in Nashville and one in Knoxville, and 2 research centers, a Children's Mental Health Services Research Center, and then a Social Work Office of Research and Public Service. We offer face-to-face classes in all of the degree programs that you see on the screen, and we also offer online courses in the Doctorate in Social Work, which is an advanced clinical doctoral course program, and we offer online program in our master's degree in science and social work.
Okay, great. Thank you. So there you have a kind of thumbnail sketch of the 5 panelists from different parts of the world, and what their institution looks like, degrees, students, teaching staff, and so on. So that will be very helpful as we move forward. So let's go ahead then, and we'll take a look at the first question. The 2 questions really are on the screen, but what we would like to do is focus first on the challenges and then move to the strategies for bringing some new faculty into the program. So what I'm going to do is give each of the panelists a chance to say a few words about the challenges first. And what I'll do is go in the order that they appear on the presenter screen for this first question, and then we'll, of course, switch things around after that. So we'll start, and Abu, do you want to say, share with us maybe one key challenge that you have faced in recruitment? And we'll start with Abu and then move on from there.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, the biggest challenge we're facing is we have actually a severe shortage of teaching staff owing to lack of qualified personnel in the country and inability to pay for qualified staffs that are coming from outside. Of course, that is related to the fact that there are more paying jobs in the country than being a lecturer at the Institute of Social Work. So the few we have actually elsewhere where they were paid.
Okay. So
yeah?
Can you repeat the first one? You said the lack of ability to pay for bringing
Yes.
people in from the outside was one. What was the first one you mentioned?
The first one is not enough qualified local.
That was very clear. Thank you. So lack of
enough
sufficient qualified local experts. Okay, Charles, let's move on to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's move on to Charles.
Exactly.
As I have told you in my introduction, our social work program is quite young, and it's working in parallel with other sister disciplines. I mean psychology, clinical psychology, and sociology. So these are given most priority, and social work is not well valued. Without being valued, the recruitment is not given priority for this discipline or profession. And at the beginning, we're relying on guest lecturers, and thereafter we started just to train local citizens, but so far the high qualified personnel is not present, but very soon we'll have some PhDs from the training from abroad. So the main challenge is social work not being very well valued and given priority for recruitment. These last 5 years, for instance, in general, pure sciences have been given priority and humanities are not valued, but mostly social work. Thank you.
Okay, terrific, Charles. Thank you very much. So the issue of social work not being valued and which in turn results in a lack of the qualified personnel and maybe an investment by the university and other faculties. So very good.
Yeah.
Let's move on, and remember as you finish to mute your microphone, and we'll move on to Kanya. Thank you.
Yes, the big challenges in Indonesia, in national level, mainly is, there is a shortage of supply of lecturers for social work education. This is not only for Bandung College of Social Welfare actually, but also for the national level. So if I propose the formation of lecturer for this school, it also should be approved by the Ministry of State Apparatus, because we are under the Ministry of Social Welfare. So at the national level, we have really a big challenge, and also because because this school is under the Ministry of Social Affairs, I usually bargain with the Ministry of Social Affairs in Jakarta to get some qualified employee, but still very hard to get, because usually some qualified employee is also needed by the central office in Jakarta. So that's the big challenge for us. And the third challenge is sometimes we have a good qualified staff or lecturers here in the school, but there is a regulation to move the staff from Bandung to Jakarta or from Bandung to anywhere. So it makes us quite hard to face this challenge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Very helpful. And so there is this connection between the university and the Ministry of Social Affairs, and there's a short supply of lecturers and some difficulty in trying to get qualified people that may be also needed at the central level. Okay, Karen, do you want to share with us a bit?
I think it's interesting that we have some common problems. We also have a shortage in the U.S. We are and have been for about the last 15 years producing across all PhD programs about the same number of PhD graduates. However, there has been a proliferation of more schools of social work. So there is a much greater need for faculty, and yet about the same number of PhDs being graduated every year. So that has been a major problem. The high quality PhD graduates, all of us are really competing for them. That means that the market is highly competitive, and those high quality PhDs really are able to pick among the very best schools. The other problem for many of us is a dual career family, so that recruiting a specific candidate, they are also requesting that we find a job for their partner. Our university does have a partner program in which they will help try and find a position somewhere in the community for that candidate's partner, but it becomes very difficult. So those are our two major challenges.
Okay, great. So as you noted, some amongst the four so far, some common challenges, and then you've given a different twist on some of these, in that you have a situation where we're producing the same number of PhD graduates, but the number of schools of social work are expanding, so there's competition for them, and then the whole issue around dual career couples. Okay, thank you. Vishanthie?
Hello. In order to speak to the challenge, I just have to give a little contextual background with regard to the history because it's unique. I will be brief. The University of KwaZulu-Natal was born out of a merger in 2005 from two different institutions with extremely different histories. The University of Durban-Westville, which was under apartheid an ethnic Indian university, and the University of Natal, which was historically a very advantaged white institution. And the University of Natal had its beginnings in the 1940s and the University of Durban-Westville in the 1960s. So with the merger, both these institutions brought along with it its own history, culture, and staffing. With the transformation post-apartheid in South Africa, the merger itself was a symptom of the transformation, but it brought along with it very skewed staff representation, with particularly Indian and white staff complements, which were not representative of the demographics of the country. And by law, the Employment Equity Act requires that we have staffing that's representative of the demographics of the country. So that was one of the biggest challenges in terms of having staff representation. The other big problem, for those of you who have South Africa and its history, that schooling and university education is based on very, very stratified system. And the quality of education was far poorer for African population than for other race groups. And those few African educated graduates that we have are very quickly recruited into the government sector and into the world of business, the corporate world, because they pay much better than academia does. And I'd just like to highlight those two challenges. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, and thanks for the cultural and social kind of background, which provides a necessary backdrop to understanding the situation there. And again, there's a somewhat common theme around competition, if that's the right word, competition for graduates for a whole range of different reasons in each of the challenges that were shared so far. So there are some very distinct challenges and also some common threads that run through these. So in fact, let us go ahead and move to the second question, and that is, what have been some effective recruitment strategies for bringing new faculty into your program? And in fact, what I think I will do in this case is reverse the order and start with Vishanthie and then move back through that. So Vishanthie, why don't I give you a chance to say a bit about your response to the second question.
Okay, thank you very much. In light of the huge challenge of recruiting appropriate, qualified African staff, one of the strategies that we've used, and it's come to be known as the grow your own timber, where we've identified and nurtured potential that we've seen in our senior classes, and then recruited them into the academic program. This has actually worked very well for us. 5 of our current staff members are our recent graduates. So it's one strategy that has worked well, and the other, given the nature of the difficulties and the problems that we have, was that we headhunted. Particularly went out and looked for people with the requisite qualifications. Okay?
Okay. Just a follow-up question, Vishanthie. So you said that the Grow Your Own Timber program meant that you tried to recruit people, promising students from the senior classes. Was that the senior class within the university?
Yes, students who were taking our master's program, sometimes we tried to identify potential, like excellent, outstanding students, even in the 4th year of their study, and encourage them to move into the master's program. Because we simply did not have, and we still do not have, enough sufficiently qualified African students to be recruited into academia. And given the imperative for transformation in the country, where university is still representative, mainly, especially at senior levels, of representative of whites, that pattern needs to change, and it is a legal imperative as well in terms of employment equity. So that is why we were forced to, in a way, sort of grow our own timber, nurture them and get them into our programs.
Great. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That's clear. Let us move to Karen and to share a few thoughts from you about the strategies.
I love the grow your own timber strategy. Unfortunately, at the University of Tennessee, as in most U.S. institutions, particularly Research One institutions, we are not allowed to hire our own graduates unless they have left, been gone for at least 5 years, had experience at another institution, and then we would be allowed to consider bringing them back. Which in many ways is very unfortunate, particularly if you have an exceedingly bright graduate who may be one of the best on the market. So one of the strategies that we use is an early identification strategy, where we attempt throughout the country to identify very promising early on PhD students and establish a relationship with them. They may be second, third year PhD students. We reach out to deans across the country and help us identify them, and we attempt to get to know them early at conferences, to meet them, to assess whether we think they would be a good fit with our college, and we may invite them several times to our campus to get to know us and for us to get to know them way in advance of actually the time before they finish their doctorate and would be on the market. The other strategy which is used is one that I mentioned before, which is the spousal partner program, in which the university helps the faculty candidate with helping find a job for their partner. So those are the two major strategies that we use in the College of Social Work and at the University of Tennessee.
Okay, great. So that first strategy is a longer-term strategy, I take it, in terms of looking out for second and third year PhD students at other universities and trying to get to know them and see them at conferences, and would probably pay off over the long haul. So that was very good. I see Vishanthie has her hand up, so go ahead, Vishanthie. Do you have something to add to this? Maybe not at this point. I will come back to you. Let's move on to Kanya. Thoughts about the strategy question?
We have several strategies. The first strategy is we recruit potential staff from Ministry of Social Affairs, and secondly, we also recruit the best student, especially at the master level. But the problem is some students also usually are employee of the Ministry of Social Affairs or employee of the local government. So we have to have a good bargaining position in order to get the qualified graduate student to be our staff member. And usually it's take quite a long process, but for some point we already succeed with this strategy. We can get qualified graduates to be our faculty member. And also we have another strategy, partnership with other university, because we also need some part-time lecturers. So we work together with other universities, especially those who provide the social work education. And by this collaboration, we can work together to fill in the lack of the need of staff member for social work education. And one thing that we also try to develop the recruitment processes by do some collaborative work with NGO, especially international NGO. This process can help us to understand or to get the qualified candidates to be our lecturer or faculty member. For example, Bandung College sends some qualified students to do their practicum with international NGO. By this process, we can get a feedback from the NGO about the performance of this student, and finally by some process we can offer these students to be our staff member. And other strategy is also we also inviting a practitioner who have many experiences in certain settings of social work, because we also have master program and with many specialization. So, for example, social work with children and family, we try to find some person who really have expertise in this setting, and we try to invite in and to give to support us with the lecture, and we work together with them. That's 4 or 5 strategies that we develop. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanya. So it sounds like you have a number of different strategies, but they all sound like they involve, I don't know, perhaps the word partnership is too strong, but certainly building up relationships within the Ministry of Social Affairs, within some of the local offices also that are hiring, that have people that are at the master's level, work with NGOs. So again, it seems like kind of there's an outreach part of this, which is trying to identify potentially good candidates who may be at work, in practice, and so on, for different levels and different organizations. Sounds a little bit like the University of Tennessee and what Karen was talking about in terms of looking out to build relationships with second and third year PhD students at other universities. So again, okay, let's move on from Kanya to Charles.
Thank you. In relation with recruitment strategies, we have been relying on our program because there was a gap relating to qualified personnel in social work. So as we had only a BAW program, we have been recruiting students the graduates who had performed as tutorial assistants, and the Ministry of Education, both with some international NGOs, particularly Swedish International Development Agency, SIDA, have been helping in capacity building So our tutorial assistants were sent abroad, especially in South Africa and in Sweden, that's for training, for master trainings, using a sandwich program. But with this, they had to sign an agreement to work at least 5 years after completing their studies to work for the university. Fortunately, currently, 5 have already an MA degree and 3 are on an ongoing training PhD program, wishing that by the end of this year, 2 will have completed their PhD. And in such way, we have an ambition to set up an MA program. The other strategy was just to develop, beyond this cooperation with other universities, partnership with specific universities such as Tulane, York University, St. Thomas, and Manitoba in Canada, that has been helping in mentorship. That's all. So capacity building of our tutorial assistants, and currently they are completing a development of partnership with other universities, and we benefit from their mentorship. Thank you.
Hello?
Hi, Jim. We're not hearing.
Hello, Jim?
But, yes, we're not hearing Jim at the moment, but Abu, if you would like to go ahead and address the question, that would be great.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Abu.
Yeah, but Charles, I was just presenting on our BAW tutorial assistants who were sent abroad for training, and they are completing very well. And this year we'll have 5 who have already completed. Sorry?
Hello?
Hi?
Yes.
Do you hear
Thank
me?
you, Charles. Yes, Charles.
Okay, thank you. I think you have followed.
We're just working on bringing Jim back online. So thank you, Charles. And Abu, we'll turn to you next if you would like to go ahead and address the question about recruitment strategies. Abu, we're also not hearing you at the moment, but if you're able to activate your microphone, go ahead. And otherwise, we will hand over to Robin Mama, who is going to moderate the next section of the webinar.
Okay, thank you. Thanks everyone for your comments and the answers that you've given to us for the first part of this. I think they've been very interesting and fascinating to listen to, because there's so many issues that you've raised that are so similar from whatever part of the world you're in. And so I think that's been so very interesting for us to listen to. This next part of the webinar is on retention and on, how we keep the good quality staff that we have and helping them stay with us, because we often run into this issue of having a good faculty member and then having them leave sometimes for one reason or another. And we want to make sure that we keep people with us for as long as possible. So what we want to do now is look at these two issues. What are the challenges in keeping teaching staff? And then what are the strategies? So in following Jim's lead on this, we'll start with, let's see, we'll start with, at the bottom of the list with Vishanthie, for what are the challenges that you've faced in retaining teaching staff at the university, and we'll go through and just talk about challenges briefly, and then we'll come back and look at your strategies for keeping them and engaging them at your program. So Vishanthie, do you want to start?
Okay. In terms of the challenges, I think undoubtedly what staff are increasingly complaining about and why they say they're leaving is the increased bureaucracy at universities, particularly on account of neoliberal influences and the increased commodification of education. People are complaining about poor working conditions as performance management. I think all of us know about it, that there are new criteria attached to it, which is in fact against labor law, in terms of staff having to take on additional responsibilities in keeping with the neoliberal agenda. There is a constant push for enrollment targets and increasing the number of students with decreased numbers of staffing to go with that. And in keeping with the performance management and the neoliberalism, an increasing sense that staff are being reduced to productivity units, to a number, rather than being seen as persons. So yeah, that is a huge, those are the huge challenges that we have.
Thank you, Vishanthie. That's very interesting. Can I ask you a question, because this is something that, and maybe Karen might address this, I don't want to step on her presentation, but can I ask you if your faculty are in a union at all, or laborized in any way?
Yes, we have unions at university. We have a few of them on our campus. And recently, a number of issues have gone to what is called the CCMA, the Center for Mediation and Conciliation with regard to labor disputes, because some of the additional conditions of service and requisites for performance management appraisals, as I said, are against labor practices, and it's been taken up with the Center for Conciliation and Mediation.
Great, thank you, because what you were talking about almost sounded like a labor management issue. So thank you for that. Karen, what would you like to add to the retention challenges around faculty?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Actually, at the University of Tennessee, we don't have very many retention challenges. Actually, faculty come and they stay. So we have faculty who have been with us for 25, 30 years. And I think one of the reasons is because the university is a great place to be, and Knoxville is a wonderful place to live and raise a family. I would say one of the greatest challenges is for those faculty who bring in large amounts of external funding. If we are going to be rated by another school, it's going to be those faculty who bring in large amounts of external funding, particularly federal funding. So that really is our greatest challenge. We have very good working conditions. We are not a unionized faculty. The state of Tennessee is a right-to-work state. Nevertheless, our working conditions are very good at the university. So our we don't really have very many retention challenges other than occasional raids of some of our faculty from other universities.
Okay, thanks, Karen. It's good to hear that you have faculty coming and staying for a long time. That's wonderful. But the external funding is an interesting issue to think about and to put out there as a retention challenge. Let's go now to Kanya and see what you would like to present as a retention challenge.
Yes, the big problem for us, because this especially for the school under the Ministry of Social Affairs, although we also connected with the Ministry of Education, there is still limitation career path for us, including to be a professor, because there is no clear regulation on how we can achieve the professor. So some of us really want to be a professor, but still can achieve that because there is no regulation for us. That's the big problem for us, and also the absence of sabbatical process for us, sabbatical on leave sabbatical for our development, for our research, or for writing a book, or we don't have that kind of leave sabbatical. While for the university under the Ministry of Education, they really have this regulation, and also because in Indonesia we put some grade for lecturers. For example, for lecturers we have kind of grade level 10 or level 11 something, but it's still very hard. The grade for lecturers who hold the position of leader of university is still very low. So, for example, myself and some lecturers who hold to be a leader, or whether it's head of school or vice chairman, is still hold the grade low grade. And the problem is this grade is connected to our financial benefit, because here the grade is also counted and related to the performance benefit. So since the grade for us is still low, even if compared to other staff, so we will get performance. We will also get a low performance benefit. That's our challenges.
Thank you, Kanya. So if I understand what you're saying, it sounds like there's not a clear way for your faculty staff to progress from one, say, title to another as you go up the line in faculty level, because your faculty titles are connected to your pay grades with the ministry. So if you can't progress, you're not progressing through a higher pay level. And it also sounds like you can't reach the title of professor very easily. Would that be true, or did I hear you?
Yes, yes, that's true. That's true. That's because Indonesia differentiates between school under the Ministry of Education and Culture, and with the school under other ministries. Although, as I mentioned, that we also accredited by the Ministry of Education and Educational Culture, but there are still differences. So that's why it's quite hard for us to achieve a higher level than for example, to get a professor title, something like that. Thank you.
Right, great. And also the issue of not being able to take a sabbatical leave is one of the retention issues you talked about, so thank you. We'll go to Charles next. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. What I can say is that we still have a chance to keep our faculty just here at University of Rwanda. In it, we have a young qualified staff, local qualified staff, that graduated at bachelor level at our university, and they are eager to strengthen social work academically as well as professionally. So, if we still have this chance, we can face these two main challenges when we hear from them. The challenge of remuneration, salaries, it's very low. So at a certain time, they can be attempted to find other opportunities. The other challenge is about the research incentives. Because, you know, as I have told you, social work is not well valued, so that conducting researches is not so easy, and to go in the field, especially to document local practices, becomes somehow difficult. The last challenge is about just the material infrastructure in terms of the library equipment, in updated books in social work, and also in terms of financial facilities to help students conduct their activities in the field. But overall, we have a chance because our young staff loves social work and they want to strengthen and promote it. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. So your challenges still go back to some of what your comments were from the beginning about social work not being valued as a profession, and so still not having the requisite equipment. Oh, good, Abu. We'll get to you next. Hold on one second. I'm glad you're back. So not having all of the incentives that go along with being a faculty member, along with being a student. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, it's correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Abu, very glad to see you back. So tell us, you got lost, but you're back. We found you. So I think when we left you last, you were finishing up a little bit about your strategies around faculty recruitment. So maybe you want to just finish a faculty recruitment strategy and then also talk to us about what are a challenge for you in terms of keeping your faculty.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll start with the strategies. One is we do headhunting. We look for qualified people whom we then ask to apply for the institute. What is this now? Yeah, we then ask them to apply for jobs at the institute. Oh, something is wrong.
We could hear you there.
Yeah, but there's some problem. Okay, so what? Yeah, that is first, we had hunting, but secondly, we also go for our own students whom we ask when they're in the third year, they're doing the masters, to apply for jobs. But now the problem here in both strategies that it's not the institute that that recruits. The recruitment process goes through a government agency, and that sometimes is very frustrating and will also take a long time. But currently what we are doing is we are trying to petition to the government so that we are actually allowed to recruit our own people, which means then it will be very easy for us to apply mentorship to our students, whom will then go into tutorial assistantship, and then through our training program go up the ladder, which becomes easier to retain, in fact. So those are the two strategies that we apply. Hello?
Okay, yes, Abu, thank you.
Yeah.
So first, in terms of your, yep, I can hear you. In terms of your faculty recruitment, you're doing headhunting and try to get people to apply to the institute. But what you said was, as a challenge, is that you're going through a government agency to do this, and it's taking a long time, right, to get people in. So then there's a delay, right, in getting people actually in and settled and all of that. Okay.
Exactly.
Good. So then, is there a strategy then, once you've got them into the institute, for keeping them and keeping them around for a long time, or engaging the faculty then once they're there at the institute?
Yeah, when we get in there, when we try to make sure that they don't get out. And the kind of things we do is to try to train them very fast. If they don't have PhDs, they go for PhDs. If they have PhDs, we try to put up some research funds and vie for consultants, and so that we create our own funds which may then help these members of staff to excel in doing research, publish, and they go up the rank. And you see, when you are in an academic institution and you go up the rank, it becomes then very difficult for you to go out, because the senior you get in the academics, the less relevant you are in the government positions in town. Relevance in terms of being head, because some of the things in town are too political for academicians. So we train them very fast, and then that makes them stay around. The other thing is we have very good incentive schemes. So when they get here, for quite a number of them, and they look at the incentive and the handshake at the end, this makes them to stay around. Thank you. Hello?
Thank you very much. Yep, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Then let's now continue with the strategies for retention, and we'll go next down the list to Charles. What things have you done, Charles, to keep your faculty and engage them and keep them with your...
Thank you. In this way, we have tried to strengthen partnership with other universities. I mentioned earlier Tulane University from New Orleans. I mentioned York University, St. Thomas University, and University of Manitoba in Canada. So we have been developing some joint research competitions, so that grants we received, they have helped us set up some research projects, and this helped to get some incentives to participate to regional as well as international conferences, and we managed also to set up a Center for Social Work, Education and Practice that helps just to organize some researches so that we can generate some own incomes. We have not very well started yet, but it is promising. And also we have tried to think of developing local consultancies so that we keep in touch with NGOs and public universities as well as the private sector, so that the faculty tries just to compete and to get some consultancies so that we create, we pretend will have enough own income generating short projects. And lastly, with this partnership with other universities, we managed to produce some publications so that when they are internationally recognized, we start with this year already we'll have to publish some book or articles, so that this helps the faculty to be promoted and that the remuneration can increase. That's all what we are trying to set up, and this is very well helping. We think of very, very, very good perspectives by developing this partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. So it sounds like what you're trying to do is get your faculty to have some research projects with people outside of the university. And I think you mentioned...
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Right, so that they can have some incentive to do research and to do scholarship, but also so that they could have some publications to their name, and which promotes their own scholarship, promotes their tenure. Also, that helps to elevate the status of social work, correct? And maybe gets it more valued. So,
in fact, we try to just to compete, joint competition grants. For instance, last year we won from the Social Sciences and Humanities Council from Canada. We have got an award, and we have set up a project here at University of Rwanda just to see how to synthesize indigenous and international social work theory and practice. So that is very helpful. We do contact local researchers, and themselves in Canada, we do just collaborate in conducting these researches, and so that we'll be publishing just articles or reports from these joint researchers.
great. So it's both publishing and trying to bring in a little bit of income to the faculty to help in both ways. Great. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. Kanya, let's hear from you. Thank you.
Yes, our strategy is firstly we have national regulation and related lecturers and staff, and by exercising this regulation, some lecturers can get many advantages. For example, there are increasing age retirement for lecturers. Before is only 58, now it's getting 65 years, and even for professor is reached 72 years for the age retirement. And secondly, for lecturers under Ministry of Social Affairs, we also have regulation that we can get performance benefit allowance when we reach a good performance in doing our our job. And also our strategy is second strategy is giving them scholarship for continuing their studies or for joining the training, and also we also providing opportunities to involve in to join at the national and international conference and workshop. One thing that also very important for us is we also give lecturers to get to have a chance to get a certification, a social work certification. I'm thinking that this is very important for them, because they also do social work practice, so they have to have a certificate and licensing in social work. So I do really give them a chance to join the exam for getting certification and license, social work license. And lastly, our strategy is working with local government, and again with NGO, international NGO, for giving all lecturers a big chance to do practice, a lot of practice, because this practice is very important to them. That's the strategy for retention.
Wonderful, Kanya. So you've come with a couple of different ideas, which are very good. You're looking at increasing the retirement age, so keeping people around a little bit longer in the academy, and helping people, giving people incentives to continue, or it's almost like continuing their professional development. So giving them some money for continuing their training, or giving them money to go on professional development training, and helping to get them to conferences, professional conferences, as well as to get their social work license. And we saw we had a question in our chat box about licensing, which we'll get to in just a few minutes. So that's great. Thank you. Karen, let's go move to you. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. So at the University of Tennessee, there are several retention strategies, one of which is a potential match for any faculty member, which brings an offer from the outside. The university will assess the outside offer, and if we wish to retain that faculty member, then we will match the offer that's being made by the other university. That has worked very well for us, particularly in one case where that faculty member has been rated 3 different, and so we've made 3 matches over the last several years. The university also offers very hefty merit increases to our most productive faculty. And I think that's been a really good retention strategy on the part of the university. I think healthy salaries help keep faculty, as well as a healthy, happy environment for them to work in. We have sabbaticals, which are available to faculty every 6 years. So faculty maintain a full-time salary while they have 6 months off for professional development, engaging in grant writing, in writing books and manuscripts, and engaging in research. The university also has a very strategic attempt at honoring faculty in very visible ways. And that includes honors banquets, at which faculty receive honorific professorships and stipends and specific dollars are tied to those professorships, which are which have honorary titles which come along with them. They also receive very specific honorary dollars within the college for having achieved certain benchmarks. Within the college, we try very hard to be very visible about the accomplishments of our faculty, both within the university and outside the university. So I think that there are many things which are important to faculty which go beyond pay and work conditions, and that includes knowing that they are being honored for the work that they do and being appreciated and valued. And we try very hard to do that.
Thanks, Karen. So your comments are similar to Kanya's in the aspect of honoring faculty, but in a little different way. And if I ask you a question about the match, so this is if another institution tries to come and steal one of your faculty, and offers them a certain rate of pay from another institution, then that faculty member would come to you and say, you know, another university is trying to take me away, and this is what they're offering me. Then your university, if you wanted to keep them, your university would match that salary.
That is correct. I would go to upper administration and make a case for keeping the faculty member, and the university would then match or match plus the offer that the other university made.
Wow, that's fantastic. So I have to make a mental note never to try to poach someone from the University of Tennessee. That's great, thank you. But I think you make a really good point about honoring faculty and letting them know they feel valued, because that's been a theme actually in a number of these conversations about the value of faculty and where they sit in the stratosphere of all of this in terms of retention and recruitment. So thanks very much for those comments. Vishanthie. Maybe we've lost Vishanthie. Let me just see. Yep, I don't see Vishanthie with her mic. So Jim, would you like to ask some questions now from the participants?
Sure. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I was unclear because my mic wasn't appearing. And I think Vishanthie's mic is off also, so if we can, while I'm asking a question, if we could try to put her mic back on, that would be good. I'm going to go back to a question from Nigel Hall, and it is about licensing and regulation. In particular, it says, do the speakers feel that licensing and regulation of the profession in their respective countries is of key importance in raising the priority and valuing of social work academic staff, with consequent impact on improvement of salary and conditions of work? So it's the linkage between licensing and regulation of the profession and both the priority and the valuing of social work and the improvement of salary. So, you know, what I will just ask you to do, I know Vishanthie would have some thoughts about that, and maybe Kanya would, but anybody of the presenters, if you want to make a comment on that, just unmute your mic and go ahead and speak. There's Vishanthie. She's coming back, I think. Okay, Kanya, go ahead.
Yes, we are thinking, I'm thinking that certification and licensing is very important for social work. So before, Indonesia doesn't have any regulation on certification and licensing, but since we are aware that this is very important for social work status, then we try to move on. And for this school especially, I'm thinking that our lecturers have their responsibility to teach to students, and since they also do some practice, social work practice, so I'm sure that by holding the licensing, social work licensing is very good model for the student. This is very important, and also can increase the status of social work because also community and many other stakeholders will acknowledge this. So it can also increase the status of academia because they now have a licensing. And also it is for students as well. Students also will see that they can get something from lecturers as well as practitioners who really acknowledged by the state, because in Indonesia licensing is published by the Minister of Social Affairs, so really a very strong position of social worker and lecturers.
Okay, thank you very much. So basically an endorsement of the issue around licensing as being in fact a good contributing factor, and some examples of that. Why don't, because we don't have a lot of time, why don't we take one more question? And there's a good question from...
Can I say something a bit?
Certainly, go right ahead, Charles.
Can I say something? Yeah, thank you. About licensing and regulating. It's very crucial because this could help just recognize the profession so that it is not equated to other sister disciplines. I mean, just here in Rwanda, as sociology or clinical psychology, so that the recruitment can be clear considering the uniqueness of the profession. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Charles. And let's go to a comment that Florence Martin had made, and that is that there is a lot of emphasis put on PhD level for recruiting lecturers and professors, bearing in mind the importance of practice to social work and the shortage of PhD candidates in many countries. What is the strategy for ensuring that new lecturers are not only solid academically, but also have the required practical experience to teach others social work practice with a particular population or field? So it's really the kind of linkage between academic and research, but also the field social work practice. So any opinions? Vishanthie, why don't you go ahead, and then we'll go to Karen. I think your mic works, Vishanthie, if you unmute it. Looks like it does. There it goes.
In
Great.
In answering that question, Jim, I just want to reflect on something. I noticed that Karen in the US talked particularly about recruiting PhD graduates into the program, and it seems like it is only if they have a PhD that they would be accepted into the teaching staff. It's actually very different, I think, for many of us. If we had to set a PhD as a requisite, which is actually an absolute goldmine in South Africa, particularly recruiting African black candidates into the program, we're not going to be able to meet our equity targets. Having practice experience is absolutely important. It's not only important to recruit people with practice experience into the program, but I think it's critical for academics to retain practice experience throughout academia. I mean, how do you research, how do you publish, how do you teach if you're not actively engaged in practice? And supervising undergraduate students or even master's students who are in field practice provides a wonderful opportunities for academics to be actively engaged in practice. And by supervising, I don't mean supervising from a distance. I mean going out into the field and getting one's hands dirty and working with students, because students learn best through modeling and imitation. So teaching about things and teaching things in situ are very, very different. So I actually support the idea that we need to be excellent practitioners in order to be excellent academics. But this ties in with another issue that I want to raise. With regard to Karen's presentation, recruiting people with PhDs. Our universities in the African context, and I think in Asia as well, are chasing rankings in terms of global rankings, which I actually believe works against us rather than for us. We know that the US retains its position in terms of world rankings. There's so much pressure on academic staff in Asia, in Africa, to achieve certain things. For example, with third stream funding and external grant writing, there's increased pressure for that. But if I look at our context and student-staff ratios, it can't compare. I mean, I would gladly, write grant proposals if we did have a student-staff ratio of 1:13. But with 1:52, it's far more difficult to manage that. So we need to look at global pressures on institutions in developing countries and what it actually does to staff there.
Great, thank you.
May I respond to Vishanthie?
Yes, go ahead, Karen.
First of all, let me make it clear that we don't hire any PhDs who do not have practice experience. We greatly value practice experience and don't hire any PhDs who do not have practice experience. In fact, the Council on Social Work accreditation standard requires that anyone teaching a practice course, no matter PhD or not, have postmaster's practice experience. So, but I also want to say that we do hire licensed social workers who have postmaster's practice experience. They bring a richness to our curriculum. They are either assistant, associate, or full professors of practice or clinical professors, and they help round out our curriculum. They are not, for us, difficult to recruit or difficult to retain. And they generally have a wealth of practice experience, and we have a step ladder of progression and promotion for them, just as we do for our tenure track faculty. So I'm sorry if I gave you the impression that we're hiring PhDs or faculty in general that do not have practice experience, because that is not the case. With respect to ranking, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that, quite frankly, rankings are smoke and mirrors. I don't think they're an accurate representation of social work programs at all. They tend to be reputational and are not based on benchmarks. And even if they were based on benchmarks, they take us away from what's really important, which is the quality of our graduates and the difference that our graduates will make in the world. So, Vishanthie, I couldn't agree with you more on all of the points that you made. It's unfortunate that our universities are placing so much emphasis on rankings rather than on the quality of the work that we do to produce social work graduates who will go out and make a difference in the world.
Okay, thank you very much from both Karen and Vishanthie. A real sort of endorsement of the, overall of the necessity and desirability of having both kind of academic research, but also combined with practical and experience in the field, and that one is necessary for the other to be truly excellent. And I would also pick up on something that Vishanthie said around the nature of supervision, because supervision is often carried out from a distance. And I think her comment about being to supervise means to going out and getting your hands dirty and being a part of that is very important. So we are, in fact, running out of time. I do notice there are a number of side discussions going on in the chat box, and that's great. And we can't respond, in fact, to every question. But I think that part of the value of the chat box is people can respond to each other in some cases. And I noticed Andrew is sharing a resource and has made some comments and gotten some responses. What I want to do is just begin to wrap this up. We had, one last question for the speakers, and really we want to, maybe if you could keep this a sentence or two. And what's the most important key piece of advice for others dealing with recruitment and retention issues? Just ignore the second question, but what's one important key piece of advice for others dealing with these issues? And go ahead and just unmute your microphone. Okay. I don't know what happened. So anybody who wants to respond to that, go ahead.
This is Karen. I think that the most important thing is not to get discouraged, because recruitment work can be very difficult. You put in many hours of hard work, and sometimes you expend resources trying to recruit, and then you lose that candidate that you really wanted. And it's so very discouraging, and sometimes it's hard to keep on going. Some of my experiences have been that I've been terribly, terribly disappointed, and actually in the long run wound up with a much better candidate. I guess my advice would be we have to just keep on keeping on, as difficult as this process is.
Okay. Thank you. So this the urge for perseverance and keep on keeping on. Any other last pieces of advice before we close from any of the speakers?
Can I say something? That is Charles.
Sure. Go right ahead, Charles.
Hello, Jim.
Go ahead, Charles.
Yes, it's great. I'm very happy. Yeah, I'm very happy to share many experiences with other people, and at the end I'd like just to emphasize this point, just to see how to value social work as an academic discipline, but also as a profession. So it's very important just to lobby academic leaders as well as people in concerned ministries for regulating just the profession, but also setting up good curricula, considering also just some certificate courses, because people in the community, especially just auxiliary social workers, need to be trained regularly. And to finish, partnership between universities are very important, just to share good practices and to exchange experiences so that we can get skills from different areas as academicians. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. I notice, Vishanthie, you have your hand up. Why don't you go ahead?
Yes, Jim. I just want to say I've been hearing people talk about retirement ages. We have a compulsory retirement age of 60 at our university. Quite honestly, I think that's the ages during which most academics are at their most productive.
Indeed.
But this compulsory, yes, that's right. Particularly women who enter academia much later. So that I think does have an impact, and so many people actually leave to go to other universities, when they are close to retirement age. So I think this is something our university really needs to look at. I didn't get a chance to answer the question with regard to retention strategies because I was disconnected at that time. But I think there are some intrinsic rewards that being in academia does offer, over and above some of the things that my colleagues have already spoken to with regard to sabbatical and so on. I think the opportunities for international collaboration and exchanges that offers for freedom of expression, freedom of thought, freedom to research what one wants to research and write about. And I think this ties in with Andrew's question around anti-oppressive practice and looking at values and ethics and so on. And we can shape, I think, curricula in the way we want to shape it. In fact, that's a large part of what keeps me in academia and what I know keeps many of my friends and colleagues in academia, the fact that they have the power to influence and influence in constructive and productive ways. You have in your hands a couple of hundreds of students that go through it. And, in a world where there is so much of ideological hegemony and control in favor of neoliberalism and capitalism and dominant ideologies with regard to culture and, with regard to race and gender and so on, I think academia provides wonderful opportunities to challenge all of that. And of course, what I found works very well is validation at the micro level. I find it a joy to go to work in the morning because I have very pleasant colleagues that I work with. So while I think there may be a lot to be left to be desired at the structural level, maintaining and working consciously on relationships at the micro level, the people that one engages and interacts with on a day-to-day basis is very, very important. So I think in terms of retention, we need to address those issues.
Great. So you're bringing up an opportunity, a comment that had to come up before, and that is one of the incentives to attract people to academia is that it is a good place to live and work, and that it has a richness about it that that is really that could be probably represented more when people are recruiting people to the university. So that was very, very well stated. We'll take one more comment. I think Karen has her hand up. There's a lot of typing going on in the chat box, and that's great. Karen, anything, or is your hand up there?
I'm sorry, I forgot to put my hand down.
Okay. All right. Well, let me just say that this is great. We appreciate everybody's participation, and everybody's, the panelists did a very good job, wonderful job of providing a window into their world in the different universities in different countries and contexts and what some of the issues are. Appreciate the chat box discussions going on and the thoughtfulness of those. This has been really, really a great discussion. So let me go on and just say, if there are other events or opportunities that you'd like to announce, please do so by typing that information into the chat window. We will leave this up and running for 5 or 10 minutes. If you're interested in joining the Alliance, and we hope you are, and you're receiving notices about future webinars, please visit the website listed there to register. and a summary and recording of this webinar, as well as each of the past 16 webinars, is available on the website. This one usually takes a little bit of time for the webinar to be up, but it will be up within a couple of days. So we just wanted to announce those and thank everybody for their participation. And so we'll leave this up, and if you have any other events, you can type them in the box, and we'll take it from here. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jim.